This is a reading from Evidence of Satan in the Modern World by Leon Christiani. Chapter 8, The Exorcisms. Before the ceremony. The moment husband and wife began to experience the effect of divine grace, Satan made this final effort to prevent the exorcism taking place. The reader will have perceived a certain similarity between this case and that of the woman of Piacenza. As with her, Madame G had displayed symptoms which suggested an unbalanced mind. The intention of the sorcerer, for there were sorcerers in both cases, was to get his victim certified as a lunatic, in revenge, in both cases, for an unrequited passion. There was, in the case of the G family, some considerable delay. The bishopric showed little understanding. The curé of S.J., who will reappear later, did not believe it was a case of possession. Neither did a Benedictine almoner, and the bishop was naturally influenced by them. After many hesitations, insistence on the one hand and rebuffs on the other, the bishop was informed that there was no competent priest available to perform the exorcisms, and the couple were advised to apply to Bordeaux. They did so, and went to Bordeaux in the hope of finding a solution to their problems. Progress was very slow. Once in Bordeaux, the couple were directed to a religious community of great experience where, after a very scrupulous investigation, it was decided that exorcism would be justified. There were, in effect, several exorcisms without any decisive result. But since he could not stay any longer in Bordeaux, the husband renewed his appeal to his own bishop, asking for help in his own locality. After much discussion, Father Berger was officially entrusted with the exorcism. He is a former superior of the Grand Seminary and thus a theologian, a competent and zealous priest who understood the full gravity of the task allotted to him. He was prepared to draw on all the resources provided for him by the Church in such cases: prayer and mortification, a boundless confidence in God, in our Lord Jesus Christ, in Mary Immaculate, in the communion of the saints, in the power of the formulae of the ritual itself. In order to follow the way in which he discharged his duties in so delicate and serious a task, we could have drawn on his personal notes of each exorcism, but we are authorized to make use of an invaluable document provided by the husband of the possessed woman, in the form of notes taken by himself at each session. We reproduce them, in this case, verbatim. The first session. On 14th of September, 1953, we arrived at the presbytery in FM. Le curé invited us into his office. Father Berger had arrived a few minutes before. Just as we were going into the office, my wife began to dance around on tiptoe, frantic at the sight of Father Berger, for the foul beast that possessed her knew that the decisive moment of exorcism had arrived. We went into the sacristy and then into the church, but as we came and stood in front of the altar of the Blessed Virgin, the foul beast tried to turn away, for it made him feel uncomfortable. But I tied my wife to a chair, and Father Berger ordered the devil to be silent. Then, having prayed to the saints, he began his interrogation. "What is your name?" "It's none of your business." "In the name of God and of the Church, I command you to tell me your name." "I am Satan. I am great. I am someone." "When will you leave this woman?" "When I want to." "Why did you come into this woman?" "Well, I didn't come of my own accord. I was sent." "Who sent you?" "It's none of your business." "Once more I command you to tell me." "Well then, that other fellow." "Who is he?" "He has forbidden me to tell you." Then the priest took some holy water and sprinkled the devil. He cried with pain and immediately gave the name of the man who had sent him. It was W.B. This was the magnetist healer whom his wife had consulted, and who was well known in the district. "Did you make a pact with him?" "Yes," answered Satan. "Well, you are to fetch this pact and bring it here." "Where?" "To the altar of the Blessed Virgin." Whereupon the terrified devil began to stammer. No, I can't." "Why not?" asked Father Berger. "Because B doesn't want me to. We work together, and he told me to stand firm." "No matter," said the father. "I want this pact, and if you don't get it between now and tomorrow, you shall suffer until you do bring it." "You're a good-for-nothing scoundrel," declared the devil. "Maybe," replied the priest, "but you are to go." I haven't done anything to you. Leave me in peace. We shall see, said the exorcist. Then he made Satan look at the crucifix, and Satan cried out, And that, too, as if there wasn't enough already, and you bring out that puppet. That's enough, said the priest. Now we shall see. You shall suffer, I promise you. And the priest began the prayers of the exorcism. The devil cried out, screamed, twisted, wept, and begged him to stop. The priest did not relax. He commanded the devil to kneel down and worship God. This made the beast furious, so that he made his victim rise and stand on tiptoe. He would not give ground. But the exorcist took some holy water and ordered him to fall again to his knees. The rebellious spirit had to yield and kneel down, shouting abuse and swearing to be revenged. But the priest told him to be silent. I am in command here. Will you leave? Only if I want to, replied Satan. In the name of the Virgin Mary, I command you to leave. This time the devil answered calmly, Madam, oh, madam. Then the exorcist went on, and in the name of C, the possessed woman, who has overcome you, the would-be lover. At that, the devil became enraged and answered, I forbid you to speak of that. You have no right to. We shall see, said the father, applying the crucifix attached to which was a little medallion belonging to C. The devil screamed with pain and called out, Not that, not that, it hurts. So much the better, said the priest. May it destroy you. As he continued to press the devil more and more closely, the latter vented his pain and rage on the priest. You wanted to take her from me, meaning C. But after another moment of suffering, the devil collapsed. Thereupon the exorcist reminded him that he must depart, or his suffering would become more and more terrible as the days went by. Do you understand? Asked the priest. Lift one arm as a sign that you understand. And Satan, at the end of his strength, raised the right arm. The first exorcism was over. My wife came to herself, a little confused, but soon she became normal. The session had lasted an hour and a half. I must say that at this first session, Satan was violent and wanted to play the master, but he had to yield to someone stronger than himself, God's representative, Father Berger. Comment. It is hardly necessary to comment on this report, which is so completely straightforward. We should, however, note that the husband makes a clear distinction between the times when his wife is perfectly normal and the times when what he calls the devil or the foul beast is speaking or acting through her. From beginning to end of the exorcism, the devil is speaking solely for himself when he tells of the pact made with the magnetizer and the constraint this man, whom he names, can exercise on him to make him possess the woman. The fact of possession is demonstrated chiefly by the convulsions, the screams, and the sufferings which appear to be inflicted by the contact with holy water, with the crucifix, and by the sight of the Blessed Virgin. It would be unnatural for a person suffering from any normal illness to be so violently affected by such intrinsically inoffensive objects. According to the monks who carried out the exorcisms at Bordeaux, it had already been noted, particularly on the 31st of August 1953, that in similar circumstances the obsessed woman had had violent spasms, and the devil, the enemy as he is called in the exorcist's report, reacted in various ways with pride, trembling supplications, fallacious promises. Further, the possessed woman's countenance had taken on a hideous cast. We should also note the very striking resemblance between this exorcism and the one at Piacenza. We are again in the same environment, engaged in the same struggle, with the same failures and successes. The similarity will become even clearer in subsequent sessions. Each session is such a tense and exhausting conflict that it cannot be prolonged indefinitely. For this very simple reason, the exorcism has to be interrupted and postponed to the next session. Second exorcism, 16th of September 1953. We arrived at the curé's house. Father Berger was already there. Suddenly, my wife began dancing in his presence, first on one leg and then on the other, as usual. I had difficulty in bringing her to the altar of the Blessed Virgin because she tried to hide behind a cupboard in the sacristy. But I took her in my arms and set her down in a chair, strapping her to it, because the foul beast was up to his tricks, had his first sight of our mother in heaven. Father Berger commanded him to be silent, and whilst he was praying to the saints and reciting the litanies, the devil, looking at him askance, began to shower abuse on him. "Old rogue! Old bandit! It's not true! You're a liar! I am the one! I am!" and so on. Then the priest repeated the question of the previous session. "When? On what day? At what hour will you leave?" After some hesitation, Satan replied, "It doesn't mean a thing to me. I'm quite comfortable." The exorcist asked him, "And B, did you ask him for the paper?" "Yes," replied Satan. "Where is it?" "Over there, under your good wife." Pointing to a little angel, the priest looked. "There is nothing there." The devil chuckled at his trick, but the father came back and said, "You're going to get the pact for me, for there is a pact, signed with his blood, isn't there?" "Yes," replied Satan, "but he doesn't want to give it to me, and he says I'm a good-for-nothing if I don't hold out to the end." "I must have this pact, do you understand?" said the priest. "And you know where it is? In his desk?" "No," said Satan. "He's taken it out and put it in a briefcase." "No matter. I must have it tomorrow. You will place it under this little angel. Do you understand?" "Yes, yes," replied Satan. "And meanwhile, you're going to suffer," said the priest, beginning the exorcism. "He's even worse than the other," cried the devil, looking at the priest. It's beyond a joke what he's up to with me." "I shall be up to still worse," said the exorcist, "if you won't leave. And with or without that bit of paper, you will leave. I can tell you that. Why don't you leave this woman?" he went on. "And how long have you been there?" 3 years, this September," replied Satan. "She came for treatment. At first it was all right, but then something went wrong." "Why?" asked the exorcist. "He has forbidden me to say." "I command you to tell me, although I know why. He wanted to get possession of this woman's body." "Yes," replied the devil. "And when he didn't succeed, he sent you, and you dare to obey him. You are his slave. You are not ashamed? You, Satan?" "Oh, but I do the commanding. I'm the one," replied Satan, for he was so proud that he did not like to admit that he was obeying orders. He was impudent enough to say to the priest, "You get down on your knees and worship me." "What?" exclaimed the father. "You'll see. Down on your knees immediately and worship God." And Satan obeyed. Then he began to suffer, howling with pain, tearing at his breast, yapping like a puppy, until the priest ended his prayer and presented him with a little image belonging to C, by applying it to the forehead, so that he howled again at the end of his strength. The priest reminded him that he was to bring the pact, or he would go on suffering as long as he was in the woman. Exhausted, he murmured, "Yes, yes." Then the exorcist said to him, "Good. Till tomorrow, then, we shall see." Thereupon the priest left the sacristy, the devil declaring, "I can't stand any more." My wife came to herself. Then we went, all three, into the sacristy, together with Monsieur le Curé, and the father explained the meaning of the session to Monsieur le Curé, saying that the foul beast was under orders from B. At these words my wife started up, and the devil declared, "It's I who give orders, not he." But the priest silenced him, and I drew my wife away. This session lasted 45 minutes, and the devil was much calmer and less rebellious than at the first session. Later battles followed more or less the same pattern, although varying in detail. An interesting point about the third session was the admission by the devil that he had been greatly helped in the first period of possession by the incredulity of a priest who would not believe in the presence of a devil in the possessed woman, and was therefore opposed to exorcism. Third session. Again, we quote the husband himself, 18th of September, 1953. The weather was appalling, and the rain never stopped, but we decided to set out, and the exorcist never hesitated. He left in the pouring rain, for he wanted Satan to see that nothing would stop him when he had to do battle with the foul fiend. We reached the church, and, as in the earlier sessions, the devil began to play up, but that day he spoke German. Footnote. Needless to say, the possessed woman, a simple country woman, did not know a word of German. He tried to turn back, but the priest brought him to order. But during the prayers to the saints, the litanies, the abuse began again. "Old rogue, old bandit, just listen to what he's saying. Won't he ever stop? What's the matter with him?" Then the father began the prayer of exorcism. Then the devil howled and begged him to stop, whereupon the exorcist asked him, "Haven't you brought the pact?" "What pact?" "The pact you had to get from B." "Oh, I'd forgotten all about it," said the devil. "You've got a good memory." "Yes," said the priest, So you haven't brought it. Well, all right. Now, are you going to leave this woman? No, answered the devil categorically. So you won't go? Well, just wait and you will see. You will understand. The father sprinkled him with holy water and repeated the prayer which made the devil suffer so much. When he brought out the crucifix, the devil was still mocking. Well, here's the puppet again. Wait a minute, you'll see. We've not done with you yet, said the priest, continuing his prayer. Suddenly Satan called out, Ah, you're D, mentioning a local priest. He didn't believe in anything like that. He prevented it as long as he could. As for me, I could see what was happening. He helped me a lot. He did. He didn't mean to, but he did. This statement, says the report, which we produced textually, refers to D in the parish of S.J., and the words were heard by 3 witnesses, Father Berger, the curé, and myself. But after Satan had made this statement, the exorcist silenced him by saying, That is not my business. What I want is for you to leave, in the name of the one who bruised your head, in the name of our Mother in heaven, who commands both in heaven and on earth, and everywhere. You must obey. Once more the priest placed the crucifix on the woman's breast and added, And in the name of C, my wife, who also rejects you, go. The devil howled and twisted and shouted at the priest, I shan't forget you. Trust me. You are making me suffer, you old sack of coals, but I shan't forget you. The exorcist prayed, asking the Blessed Virgin to drive out Satan. Satan became enraged and declared, Oh, he'll do it. He'll do it yet. He knows what to do to make me leave, the swine. Oh, you swine. I know I shall be forced to leave, and I didn't want to go. Satan began to snivel. I haven't done what I was told to do, and now I've got to leave. I know I'm beaten, and it's all because of this scoundrel of a Berger who's found out everything. Why did I have to run across him? I've been working so hard these last 3 years. Just look what I've come to. Me, the great Satan who rules over all the world. No, it's not possible. It's not possible. It can't have happened to me. Once more Satan referred to the priest who had not believed in possession. Oh, D, you're not a real pal. You ought to have stopped them getting up to their tricks. D, you're a good-for-nothing. You ought to go on stopping them. But the exorcist stopped him. That's enough. You're going to leave, for the Virgin Mary has ordered you to. It's not from me anymore, a little servant of God, but from the Virgin Mary. Turning towards the altar, the priest went on, Come, Virgin Mary, make Satan depart. I am counting on you. Virgin Mary, your honor is at stake. One little gesture from you, and the devil will go back to hell. The devil could endure this no longer. He was listening and stammering. Madam, I am frightened, madam. We can't say anything to you, great lady. It is forbidden to us. His fears were obvious, as he himself had to admit. I'm frightened. She is coming. She is descending from the clouds. No. Leave me a little while longer. Just a little while, madam. The devil leaned forward in pain, and suddenly the possessed woman had a feeling of nausea and tried to vomit. That lasted 5 minutes. And then, in spite of his pain, Satan said, No, I can't. I don't want to leave. Then the priest began to pray, placing the crucifix once more on the possessed woman. The devil's suffering started again, and he said, Stop, I will go, since you want me to. Then the exorcist said to him, It is the Virgin Mary, not I, who wishes you to go. The devil began to rage. You don't frighten me, but I'm afraid of her, the great lady, of her alone. For I can do nothing against her. Her will prevails. The devil was panic-stricken and could not move. He listened and answered simply, I shall have to go. I shall have to go. Yes, madam. Turning towards the priest, he said, It's all your fault. Yes, it's all your fault, you old swine. I'm flattered. I'm proud of it, for Satan is in my hands, and I am making him suffer. You will never suffer enough, you foul fiend. Oh, said the devil, you are my greatest enemy, Berger. So much the better, said the priest. I am quite satisfied. It is an honor to be called the enemy of Satan, for you know we are called the sons of Mary. We are the community of Chabagne, the sons of Mary Immaculate, and Mary has bruised your head, old serpent. Then the exorcist prayed to the Blessed Virgin. Come, little mother, you won't leave the last word to Satan. One word from you and the foul fiend will go, unless you want Satan to suffer still more. Tomorrow will be your day, O Blessed Virgin. Saturday. And turning to Satan, well, Will you go now, or do you want to wait till tomorrow? I don't want anything. I don't know. Good, said the father. Well, tomorrow you'll see. You'll understand, because you will suffer more and more till tomorrow, Satan. So the priest concluded the third session. My wife came to herself, rather tired, but more light-hearted and at ease. This session had lasted 2 hours and a quarter, and was remarkable both for the declarations made by Satan and for his attitude to the Virgin Mary. In all these sessions, apart from the interrogations and the dialogues with Satan, which were in French, all the exorcisms, including those which made such a striking impression on Satan, were in Latin, which was quite unknown to the possessed woman, but which were able to affect Satan. Fourth exorcism. Today the weather was favorable, and the sun came out. We went to the church, and after I had strapped my wife to the chair, the father began the usual litanies to the saints, and, as on other occasions, the devil began to abuse him. You scoundrel! You swine! You're starting the same old game, are you? It's not true. You're a liar. It's not me, I tell you. It's not me that did it. Just listen to him. He never stops talking. He won't stop. You must be thirsty, you swine. Are you going to stop? I'm here. I am beautiful. Yes, you're beautiful, said the priest. You're an old serpent. Just listen to him, said Satan. Now he's insulting me. Why don't you respect me? But what, said the priest. Respect you? You, the foul fiend? Wait, you will see. The exorcist said another prayer from the ritual. The devil screamed and cried, Stop him! Stop him! Don't you see he's hurting me? Didn't you make me suffer enough this morning? Only instead of suffer, he used a very coarse expression. Do you have to go on? You're a swine, a criminal. The father commanded him to be silent, then asked, Will you go, yes or no? Yes or no, I don't know. I haven't made up my mind. It isn't the right moment. So it isn't the right moment. Well, I command you in the name of the Virgin Mary to leave the woman immediately, for today is the day of the great lady herself. I know, replied Satan, but she hasn't told me to go today. Liar, hypocrite, foul fiend, said the priest. Now you're going to kneel down at once to the Virgin Mary. After several refusals, the devil knelt down. And now, said the exorcist, you are to say, Hail Mary. Ah, no, don't go to extremes, or I shan't say anything. You are to say, Hail Mary. Then Satan stammered, Hail. And now, said the exorcist, you must say, Mary. In a burst of anger, the devil spoke, Hail Mary. Ah, said the priest, he has just said, Hail Mary. It's not true. It's not true, shouted the devil. I didn't say anything, and I don't want to go. It suits me here. We shall see, said the exorcist. Then he gave me a sign, and I led my wife up the altar. Satan was overcome with fear and began to tremble. There was silence. The priest showed him the tabernacle and said, You see this? In the name of God and the church, I command you to leave this woman. The devil did not reply. There was a silence for about a minute. Suddenly the devil turned to the exorcist. Did you hear? Tell me, did you hear? Didn't you hear what he said? It was to you he said it. He said, Your place is not here. Did you hear it? Again there was silence. Satan turned his face towards the altar. Listen. He trembled as he spoke. But no, it's not to me that he said it. It's not possible. He said it to me. Your place is not here. True, said the priest. Your place is not here. Go back to hell and leave the woman here. The devil began to tremble and weep. Suddenly, after a silence, an extraordinary thing happened. Satan, the proud, asked of his own accord that he should be left alone, and kneeling down before the altar, prostrated himself to the ground and worshipped Almighty God. Lifting his face towards the tabernacle, he answered God, Yes, yes, I hear. Turning towards the priest, he said, Did you hear? He has told me to respect and obey you. Then once more he bowed his head to the ground in adoration and stayed in that attitude for the rest of the exorcism, about half an hour. The onlookers were overcome with amazement. The great Satan, as he called himself, was kneeling in adoration of the Lord, whom he must obey. And from the moment he received God's command, he did not move, but remained kneeling and listening with respect to the priest. This lasted for some time. Then Satan spoke, Well, how long do I have to stay here? I want to go. The exorcist replied, Go, Satan. Your place is not here. God has told you, and I repeat it, leave this woman to God and go back to your companions in hell. Ah, but that's not the same thing. Surely I've got the right to have a woman. You have no right, said the priest. Go back to hell and leave this woman. Here she is at home, but you are not. Begone, Satan. I'm quite willing to go, said the devil, but not alone. And addressing the onlookers, are you coming? Has anyone thought about me? I can't stay here. Once more the priest said, Begone, you foul fiend, hypocrite, liar, coward. Come now, said the devil. Be polite. I respect you because I can't do otherwise. It is forbidden, but I'm not afraid of you, you know. The priest reminded him, Look on the face of God. The devil turned round and declared, Ah, you know, he does make me a little afraid. But suddenly, in spite of himself, he prostrated himself and said, Yes, yes. Turning towards the priest, Oh, sir, he has told me to call you sir. Well, since that's the case, I, the great one. But he could not continue, and prostrating himself again, Oh no, I cannot, I will not. Addressing the exorcist, Did you hear that? He said you must leave today, but it's not possible after I've worked so hard these 3 years. Ah, you're D, the priest who did not believe in exorcism. He didn't see anything. You'd better buy him some glasses. He'd see better. Then they said she was ill. It was I who was there. They said she was in pain. That was me again, and you didn't see anything. Not very smart, were you? Not to see it was the great Satan who was there. Now I can tell you, it was I, the great Satan, and I'm still here. Would you like me to show you that I'm still here? I know, said the priest, that you are still here. Oh, you, retorted Satan, you know everything, you. You discovered everything, but I'm still here, and I'm not afraid of you, and so I shan't leave. Satan raised himself to his knees, for he was still prostrate, and made hideous grimaces, pointing to himself and saying, I am still here, the great one, the master of the world. But then, looking at the tabernacle, he was thrown to the ground once more, prostrating himself in obvious fear, his hands scratching at the ground. He twisted in pain, then suddenly collapsed on his back, gasping for breath for several moments. Then, as suddenly, he got to his knees again, but still wanted to master the situation. But in spite of himself, once again he had to prostrate himself. And the exorcist remarked, You see, you, the great one, you obey. But the devil, looking at the carpet, replied, Oh, I'm just looking at the carpet. It's a good carpet. I'll make one like it. Although he still had his face to the ground in an attitude of adoration, he tried to carry it off by saying, I must look at the carpet more closely. I'm getting short-sighted. Then, raising his head, Well, since that's the case, I won't go. We'll soon see who's the first one to have enough. Good, said the priest, we shall see. The prayer of exorcism, the holy water, caused Satan more pain, so that he could hardly articulate. I am great. But suddenly, the pain was too much for him, and he collapsed again on his back, struggling, gasping, and writhing. Having made him suffer, the exorcist spoke to him. So, you will not leave? Well, we will start again tomorrow, and the day after that, if necessary. But I promise you, you will leave. And the father withdrew, while Satan pulled himself up, saying, I am the great Satan. I command the whole world. Then my wife came to herself and approached the altar. Clasping her hands in prayer, she said, Oh God, oh God. Then she genuflected and made the sign of the cross. But Satan was still active and rebelled. She withdrew in confidence that God would save her from the power of the foul fiend. This session lasted 3 hours and a quarter. Satan was made to suffer, but the foul fiend will only leave when he is exhausted and at the end of his tether. During this session, Satan was much calmer. He obeyed God's order to respect the priest, who allowed him no respite.